Welcome to the Curveball Games YouTube channel. My name is Ray. I am the social media and community manager lead at Curveball Games, and as you can see today we're going to be playing Taxi Chaos 2. So you may have seen that we recently released this as a physical edition on PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch. That's available at all your favorite participating retailers, but I figured I would just dive in a little bit, give it a gameplay, and just to show you what it's all about in case you haven't seen what Taxi Chaos 2 is all about yet. It's available digitally as well if you want to pick it up there, and I'm playing this on the PlayStation 5 physical edition that we've just recently released. So basically I'm going to show you the opening portion of the game. You're going to get a bit of a feel for what it's all about, so that some of the early missions as well as how the game plays and feels, and just generally get a sense of San Valeda in its intended glory. But yeah, Taxi Chaos 2, in case you don't know, it is a high energy arcade taxi game. It's set in a city under siege by AI TaxiBots. So the TaxiBots just basically, they just don't take too much of a liking to you. So they're going to be always trying to push you off the road, they're going to try and get in your way, and they just basically don't want you picking up passengers by any means necessary. But similar to other games similar to this, you get to race the clock, you have to outdrive other cab drivers, and essentially you are delivering passengers to their intended destination. So when you pick someone up, they tell you where they want to go, so you follow the arrow markers and you go straight there in the car, and driving against the oncoming traffic, as well as mentioned those taxi bots that are just always present and in your way. But every shift plays a little bit different as well, so you are playing in intended shifts, and so in between those shifts you'll then get to go to the garage, you'll get to upgrade your car, you'll get to do give it some new bells and whistles, a new paint job. You can even get new cars as well, so you start off with a bit of a dusty old Hummer there, which you can see, but gradually you're going to get cars with better handling, better acceleration, and just generally more fun to play. So yeah, as you can see, I've dived into my taxi now and I'm raring to go until I can find where the accelerator is, of course. So you have to bear with me for a couple of these sections because this is the first play. But yeah, essentially it is just like a bit of classic gameplay. So, you know, as mentioned, you may have played similar games to this that you might have enjoyed, and in a similar genre. But, you know, this one also does offer something a bit different. There's a story there as well. You can also play a bit of football there if you want to. But equally, you know, there's just a wider environment you can explore and get to grips with. This also means you can jump. So yeah, you can actually jump across this obstacle should you want to, as you've just seen right there. So that's a little something different as well. And it also helps when you are doing some stunt traveling throughout the game. So there's lots of ramps you can jump across, or there's lots of like areas where you can, platforms you can get across as well. So it turns into a weird platforming kind of game. So that's kind of cool and fun. But yeah, this just essentially is a nice throwback, old school arcade game. As mentioned, you do have a time limit, you are on shifts, but there is like a modern element to it where you can essentially upgrade your taxi, you can give it upgrades, you can give them modern paintworks and things like that. So, you know, there's a nice hybrid there within the product, I think. And of course, like, you know, there are obviously routes as well. So if you learn the routes within the city, you've learned some of the shortcuts, you can get your passengers there quicker. And obviously, the quicker you can get your passengers to their destination, the more of a richer reward that you will get. So, you know, that's always something to think about as well. You can see my fantastic driving skills on display. You can tell I don't actually drive in person, right? So you can see that big beam of light there at the top. That means where you've got to get to. That's kind of like a checkpoint system. And you can see I'm also being chased by a taxi bot, so I've got to watch out for them and essentially try and get out of harm's way. But that's a nice little ramp. So that also just showcases a little bit there of kind of the stunts and the tricks and the trade you can do there. So you'll have ramps, you'll have little ditties there, little ledges you can get onto. So, you know, there's lots to just bear in mind and keep an eye out for. And say this is the opening cutscene in the game, so it just kind of gives you a bit of a quick feel for the controls. But this is now me taking on the first proper shift of the day. So as mentioned there, you earn cash, reach destination, grab customers, you get a star rating as well, a bit like you get with Uber. Yeah, and that's also determined as well by, you know, if you crash into another car, or if you do take a shortcut, or if you are basically like smashing into a wall off and on again. Essentially, you know, your rating's just going to go down and down and down. Every little mishap that you do, your rating is going to diminish even further. But if you have a nice clean run to your destination, yeah, absolutely, you're going to get those 5 stars, which, you know, that's what you want to do, right? That's what you aspire for. And yeah, this is just San Valeda in general, so you can just explore, get a bit of a feel for the environment, and you can see the little the pointer there where I need to get to. So that's always present on the map if you want it, as well as those arrows pointed directly there and the green beam from above, so that you always kind of have a good idea of where to go. Now you saw the blue beam above that driver as well. That's kind of a short hop there. but eventually you also get yellow beams around them, so that will be heavier customers. So that means if you're trying to go uphill, it's a lot slower. And also the red ones, it means it's kind of further destination, but obviously that means a higher reward as well. So there's all little factors you need to think about and prepare for as you're driving around. And these are unpredictable streets, so obviously, you do have a day and night system as well. So, you will see nighttime in San Valeda, which is kind of cool. You'll also get to see different visibility. The traffic flow will change. There's even like improved challenge levels, so you can play at a higher difficulty if you want to. And basically the passengers you pick also influence kind of the dialogue you get in the car as well, so you get a bit of back and forth between driver and passenger, which is always a bit of a nice fun thing to see and feel. And yeah, obviously there are things like roadblocks to look out for. There'll be accidents in the city sometimes. There'll be citywide events you'll need to keep our mind out for as well. There'll be constant adaptations. So, the game always tries to aim to feel a little bit different every time you play, and each shift should feel a little bit different. But generally the city layout does stay the same, so, if you know where you're going, you can get around pretty easily and pretty freely, right? But also wildly, if you want to, and you're not going to see too much of this in this demonstration because this is the early game, but eventually you can go all Assassin's Creed. You can drive on rooftops, you can scale terrain, you can blast through traffic, you can even find some hidden paths, like kind of a little bit off the beaten path what you just saw there. So like I think with the rating system and all that combined, it just really, the game does reward this sense of progression and this sense of the routes that you take and how you get to your destination. So it's all worth just experimenting a little bit. I really am a terrible driver. I'm so sorry for it. I feel like we should have got like someone professional to do this, other than an amateur hour me. But yeah, obviously you just get a real sense of what this game is, and you've got different destinations. So also bear in mind when you're looking at like the tabs above those characters, you can, if you kind of know where you're going, you're like, oh, I know where this destination is. So that can also help you as well. If you've memorized the city layout and you know where a particular destination is, you can zoom to that point A to B a lot quicker, obviously, than if you have to follow the route map. Because 9 times out of 10, this isn't always showing you the shortcut. There are definitely quicker routes to get to where you're going. But as mentioned, the TaxiBots are add a little bit of difference there. So essentially they will always kind of hunt other fares as well, so they will try and take those fares away from you. They will block your routes as well, so they make it a little bit harder for you to bypass them as you go through the game. They'll also try to attack your taxi, so they've also got little health bars you need to watch out for, so they'll kind of crash into you from the side or from the front, or they'll like even jump down on you from on high. So often you have to kind of like try and outsmart them and avoid them as best as you can. Maybe that is going onto the rooftops, maybe that is taking those shortcuts that we talked about. But they are aggressive, they are rampant, and they are definitely coming for your blood or your car bits, however you want to look at it. You also see I've got some objectives there in the top right. So essentially there I had to kind of get as much money as possible. Now I have to deliver one heavy customer, so I'm going to be currently looking for that heavy customer I talked about with the yellow beam around them. So that fare obviously slows you down. Obviously you have to be aware of the time limit that's going on throughout the entire duration of the shift. So that's something to, and it all comes picking into it always comes to like picking the fares wisely, right? You have to think about how much time you have to play around with, how much where you want to get to, where you need to be, how much you need to get your next upgrade, or to how much you need to complete the shift, whatever it might be, to unlock some new things. So there's a lot to kind of factor in when you're playing around in the game as well. And then later on in the game as well, there'll also be like sentry towers that will try and block you. As mentioned, those roadblocks. So like as you're progressing through Taxi Chaos 2, it definitely gets a lot tougher. It becomes a lot more challenging. So like you just like as a game, that eases you in nicely, but over time you will need to try and like master your abilities. And if you want to achieve that mighty platinum, or you want to get 100% of achievements in the game, whatever that might be, whatever your goals and ambitions are for it, you're going to need to try and like play the game a little bit and understand how it all works and operates. But there are like 12-minute shifts in the game, so these are roughly about a 12-minute mark. You can see I'm picking up the heavy passenger now, so you can see the difference in the car and how it struggles to go uphill, and how much slower it is as well. But yeah, as mentioned, you've got the day and night setting there as well. You increase and you raise your driver's rank as well. So like your driver's rank will, essentially, you go up the ladder, so you have to go and get like an A level essentially to try and be the ultimate definitive taxi driver in all of San Valeda and the go-to dude. But there's also, like new customer types as well. So like your customers also will change up as you go through the course of the game. And even like there's this arcade mode which you can dive into as well. So obviously I'm playing the campaign right now, but the arcade mode has like, beat the clock objectives, clearing certain objectives, stacking cash. The TaxiBots will increase in difficulty as well. You've got leaderboards in there which you have to work out and try to improve your abilities within that. So that's something to keep an eye out for. But there's also a lot of upgrades. You can drift, you can do sharp turns. The taxis also vary in their density and how strong they are and how capable they are. But also you can get like faster ones with greater acceleration. And just working with all the different upgrades that you have available. So you even got like some combat abilities as well. So you can even like make it not like make your taxi into a tank, but like for instance you can do like sonic blasts and Tesla shocks and things like that, just to kind of like give you a little bit of an extra edge against those taxi bots that are really coming for you. But even getting abilities like turbo boost and hacking keys and aqua wheels, just so like you can cross over water and things like that. So the environment of San Valeda isn't just confined to the streets. I think you may be getting a sense of that. So you can even go on the water as well, obviously on those rooftops as mentioned. So there's just a lot of pick up and play nature to this, but it's also fast paced. And I think at every point the game is always trying to get you to think outside the box in terms of where you're playing. So yeah, this is Taxi Chaos 2. I hope you've enjoyed this little run through of the game. Thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned to the Curveball YouTube channel. We'll be doing more of these and some of our other titles. But yeah, I hope if you like it, it's available now at all participating retailers on PS5 and Switch. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Take care.